The reading mind is the key to the Christ in me. The reading mind is the key to the Christ in me. We know that the reading mind...
If you haven't seen part 1 of this audio video diaper stain, please visit my visual media cesspool and dive right into a heaping vat of my home care aids fetid human waste. This is part 2 of Religion vs. Realty. This is how the modern day religious leaders make their profits. The prosperity gospel is worse than any pyramid scheme or no-risk scam that any temporarily embarrassed millionaire in a multi-level marketing system can conjure up. How did they get so much bread without needing any dough? It's simple. They need dough. There's a clever little system called the prayer request line. For a few bucks, these blasphemers of bling can lead people to save their souls at the cost of their bank card information and a few empty promises based on the classic health and wealth scam that guarantees financial miracles, even if a caller sends his mortgage payment thinking it will come back to him tenfold. The only thing coming to him is foreclosure on his modest bungalow. If you've got a fatted calf, evangelists want more than their slice of the cutlets. The altar is the television. The fire is the desire to be well off in the name of the Lord. People sacrifice everything by giving every dollar that they have just to get closer to being the next one on the block to have a Lincoln Town Car in the driveway. After all, Minister Monty Terry Gaines has a luxury automobile. His wife drives a silver BMW X3 with a panoramic sunroof because he stayed faithful to the Lord, even if it turned him into a Federal Reserve note whoremonger. Follow the leader. He's in a Bentley. These false teachers are motivated by greed, plain and simple. So why do people pay these clowns so much cash? Think of the church as a hedge fund. Faith in God is potential for a lottery-like pooled investment so large it'll take several tanker trucks of chlorine to wash all the dirty money. This pious management firm has very limited partners. The partners are the evangelists, and they answer only to their god Mammon, the Lord of all growths and returns. But this hedge fund is not necessarily hedge. There are no accredited investors, but there are church members willing to pay into a pot of cash that doesn't even exist yet. Remember that free-based business opportunity pamphlet? The silver spoon, the Zippo lighter, the baking soda? People sell their pubescent daughters to Reverend Stinkfinger just to take a hit of that prosperity crack rock, and thus the scam. The ministry begins. Church members are unwary investors who give away their money and see no returns. The only statements they get are in the form of sermons on how they're going to hell if Minister Middleleg doesn't have a private jet before Bishop Bratwurst across town does. After a few years of shaving sheep, this pot is overflowing with cash. Whatever is saved up in the storehouses goes to funding the evangelist's lavish lifestyles. Sobering statements have no place in the alcoholic church of silver and gold. They pray for their preacher and hope he is safe when he travels the world to share the good news of how Jesus became a capitalist and sent his 12 disciples, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Michael Bloomberg, Jimmy Walton, Bruce Wayne, Lex Luthor, Tony Stark, Richie Rich, Thurston Howe III, and His Excellence Montgomery Burns to preach prosperity to the middle class and the poor. Meanwhile, their God-fearing pastor is on vacation in Argentina, hitting up the most happening night spots and snorting cocaine off of a prostitute's stomach. It's okay to prosper, but what happens when the church leaders use church funds as their own personal piggy bank? You get pork barrel tithing practices that turn ordinary churchgoers into religious taxpayers. If people truly love their churches and their faith, they should consider making certain that what's stored in the church larder doesn't go missing like a certain boy band mogul en route to Indonesia. No jokes aside, this is big business. Nino Brown said that in court before he was labeled an idolater and shot execution style by Bill Combs. You're looking for a way to get out of the mess you're in. You're flipping through channels one night. There's a man wearing a suit in a close-up shot. He's talking about how God stirred him to speak with you about your financial situation. A number appears on the screen. He's asking you to sow a financial seed. He tells you to get off your sofa even though you're on your bed. He tells you to pick up the telephone receiver even though you have a mobile device. He tells you to dial the number tagged below him. He's asking for 500 people to plant a $1,000 financial seed. And then, oh snap, a timer appears on the lower right corner of the screen. It's counting down. Don't procrastinate. Delayed obedience is disobedience. Put God first and think of this contribution as another bushel in his vineyard. If you don't have the cash, borrow it. Then the program cuts to shots of the prayer line call center. People hunched up in cubicles, seemingly praying with callers or talking like loan consolidators. Which one? No one watching can tell. He also plugs his latest book, which you will get a free copy of as part of your $1,000 contribution. For those holding out on God, the televangelist begins talking about the people of the Bible who were unsure of themselves when God called them to preach the free market gospel. He'll say, Moses couldn't speak well in front of people, so God gave him a speechwriter and a teleprompter. Noah was a drunk, so God gave him a hangover. David was an adulterer and a murderer, but God gave him a Bart Simpson slingshot to kill a giant. And before the countdown ends, he starts reading off names of good Christians who have sent their contributions. Doesn't this all sound like an episode of American Greed? Can't you hear Stacy Keach's voiceover talking about how Reverend Dr. Moneytree bilked people out of millions using religious connections? It's a dirty, vicious game, and these preachers know it's all rigged. What if society has been duped into putting cash before character to dehumanize populations in a worldwide spiritual fraud at the cost of their souls? These modern men of God are nothing more than theistic thugs. They do spiritual 187s, and the murder weapon is John 3:16. They do it every hour of every day. You know the drill. You've seen it before. It happens all the time. You turn on the tube and leave the world behind. These preachers want gold, so you throw away your fortune and good sense 'cause they want your pay. Jeez, this thing went on for 2 parts. What am I doing with the remaining decade of my life? I think I need my meds. Wait, I'm on meds?